Hello, beautiful soul sister, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul Powered Podcast. I'm your host, Rebekah Kiger. I'm a trauma-informed master mindset and money coach, as well as a financial expert of over 17 years. I have spent my entire adult life studying the difference between successful and unsuccessful people, and I plan on sharing all of the things with you on this journey together. This podcast is called the Soul Powered Podcast because it's my desire to share with you how to create a life that is powered by your soul, not by societal standards or what everyone else in your life tells you that you should be doing, but actually powered by your soul. The reason you'd want to do this is because I believe that this is the fastest way to unlock your portal to prosperity and become what I call the wildly wealthy woman. This is the portal that once you enter it, you gain access to the prosperity, abundance, wealth, time freedom, experiences, fulfillment that are your birthright. I don't believe that you came here to build someone else's dreams. I believe you came here to live your soul-powered life and live it to the fullest. And I plan on sharing with you exactly how to do that during our time together. So thank you so much for being here. I know we're going to have so much fun together today. Let's dive in. Oh, my love, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul Powered Podcast. I am so excited that you are here, and we are on episode number 3 in a 4-part series about how to break through your current financial plateau. So if you haven't listened to the episodes before this, make sure you check those out. And I was actually going to go in a specific direction today, but I'm really being called to go in another direction where I want to talk about the importance of bringing your power back around money. And the reason that I want to talk about this, so let me talk about who this episode is for. This episode is for anyone who feels a lot of anxiety about what's going on in the current economic state of the world with all of the current affairs that are happening. Of course, we just had the US election, which is something where whether you are for the results or against them, you're welcome here because we're going to talk about this concept I have seen especially over the last couple of weeks and couple months realistically, where people have been literally giving so much of their power away to these external circumstances that are happening. And so often I see this with my clients inside of the Aligned Money program around their finances. And I used to do this too. So I'm not coming from a place of like, I know better than anyone else. It's just that I now am in a space where I can really remain empowered no matter what's going on and no matter what is happening in the external environment, because I know that I ultimately have the power to create the reality that I want. And collectively, we are stronger together if we hold on to the power that we have. Just imagine for a second that you have the power to create entire universes, you have everything at your fingertips, but you're going to take all of that power and you're going to literally hand it to someone else. That's what we're doing whenever we're giving our power away to money, giving our power away to the government, giving our power away to our clients, our parents, our bosses, our coaches, whoever it is. And I have just lived a long enough period of time in my life where I was powerless to my external environment that I've just decided that I'm no longer going to give my power away. Because again, anything that you give your power away to, or that you find to be more powerful than you then become powerless to that thing. And if you want to create more in your life, if you want to go out and make the kind of money that you want to make, and you want to save more money, say you want to go and double your income right now. If you are giving your power away to money, and money is this thing that you are chasing, or, status, or the government you're giving your power away to, you're giving your power away to your clients or the algorithm or social media or whatever it is, you are going to remain in a powerless position to that thing. And that's the last thing that I want for you to happen. So that's what we're here to talk about today. I want to talk a little bit about, people have come to me this week and just said, hey, how are you still okay with everything that's going on? How are you still happy and cheering and all of the things? And actually, it hasn't been 100% true. I've actually not felt the best this week. I had like a sickness that kind of came through, and I really feel like a lot of that is probably probably a result of all of this really heavy energy that we're all experiencing right now. So I'm not immune to that. I'm just choosing to act anyway. And one of the biggest things that I have realized is that fear is always going to exist. There's people who are so afraid of what's going to happen in the next 4 years, or people who are excited about what's going to happen in the next 4 years. There's people who are afraid of not ever meeting their goals, or not making the kind of money that they want, or they're afraid of losing their homes, or losing, all of the things that we think that in this 3D reality we can lose. And that's all very valid, and you're validated in those fears. And fear gets to exist in this world, and your decision to be afraid still is your choice. It still gets to be your choice. And this is why I want to have this conversation today, because I know for me, I gave my power away for far too long, and I do not want that for you at all. Well, let me share with you something that I have learned is that there have always been reasons for people to be fearful around money. And this is one thing that I'll never forget. There's this chart of like the stock market over the last 100 years or whatever. I can't remember exactly like how long it goes back, but there's and it used to hang in some of the offices that I worked in at the bank. And I remember seeing all of these different reasons. And the point behind this chart was to say that there is always a reason to be afraid of investing, and yet the stock market still has done incredibly well over this very same period of time. So it showed all of these economic, turbulent things, all of these reasons and wars and things, reasons to be afraid, right? And I thought it was really, really powerful back then, because I thought, there have always been reasons to be afraid. And if you still choose to not invest your money because you're afraid that the stock market's going to go up and down, then you wouldn't have made, all of that money over that period of time, right? Or in this case, it was an example around, had you not invested, then you'd be left with nothing. Whereas people who were investing during that period of time have done really, really well for themselves, right? Through that compounding interest and growth. And so my point with all of this is that I have seen so many people make decisions from a place of fear. And if there is one person in the world who has made money during a bad economy, and then there is one person in the world who's lost money during a good economy, then we know that the economy isn't the problem. It's your relationship towards whether or not you're going to be able to make money. It's your relationship towards and your belief about yourself and your nervous system. It's all of the things that we have been talking about around you actually believing or not believing that it's possible. There's that quote that says, whether a man thinks he can or thinks he can't, either way, he's right. And so my point in this is I want you to be empowered around your finances, no matter what your belief system is about the next 4 years. And it's really important to know that if one person can make a lot of money in a bad environment and someone else can lose money in a good environment, then it doesn't really matter what the environment is, that you get to make the choice. You get to make the choice that you are going to do the things that you want to do regardless of what's going on around you. And that starts by taking your power back from anything external, because it's so, so, so important. Live in this society where everyone is looking for external approval. Everyone's looking for validation. Everyone's looking for someone else to tell them what it is that they can do. I mean, look at some of the reactions to people as it relates to this election, and how people are just devastated because the candidate that they wanted to win didn't win, or vice versa, right? It's really difficult to look at this. And I heard someone talking about this, where elections in the past, it was an older person who was talking about it, and I'm just honestly paraphrasing, but he was saying that he didn't see, of all the elections that he's been a part of, how many people, especially young people, are devastated and crying and giving their power away to this person, because they believe that their internal happiness and what it is that they get to do in the world depends on who's in office, depends on who it is, something external and outside of them. And yes, of course, all of those things come into play. Yes, there is reality. Reality exists that this person who is in office gets to decide certain things about the country. There's no doubt about that. And you still have sovereignty over your own soul and your own life. No one can take that away from you. And so how can you begin to access those parts of you? We're in the society where we're taught that these people have so much power over us, and yet it's an implied power because I'm still choosing to live my life a certain way. I know many others who are doing that as well, no matter what goes on. It's an implied power. They can't take away my life. They can't take away my soul, right? And so I'm going to keep doing what I can do based on what it is that I can control. And for so many other people, this has been a struggle. And I hope that something that we talk about today hits a chord and allows for you to see that, again, not even as it relates to politics, because I don't want to go down this divisive lane, if you will. I don't want to go down this divisive path because I believe that a lot of this is created to create division and to have division in our lives. And I believe that love supersedes all of those things. But as it relates to money, if you start to see where, hey, the way you do one thing in life is the way you do everything. And so if you're giving your power away here, where else are you giving your power away? Where else are you giving your power away? You're giving your power away to money, and you're believing that money has some magical ability that it's just going to show up in your life without you doing the internal things to create it. Money is energy, it's frequency, it responds to your energy. And so does everything else around you. So we have collective issues. Yes, we have collective things that are created as a result of collective decisions. And then we also have our internal personal power that no one can take from you without your permission. And this is the conversation that we're here to have because I want to show you how to take that power back, not only as it relates to all the things that are going on in the world right now, but especially to your finances, because I believe that having financial freedom is the thing that's going to give you the ability to make the choices that you want to make in this world. It's not about having mansions and jets and all of the things. It's, can I make the decisions that I want to make? If I want to live off grid, then I can do that because I have enough money to do it. If I want to go and travel and I want to see the world, right? If I really believe that it's the apocalypse, right? Which some people do believe that, right? And again, there's been people who have been believing that for years, for decades, centuries, probably. Okay, so there's always a reason to be afraid because fear sells. The fear mongering is what they want to take your energy away, to take your power away. But it's your choice if you want to give it to them. And you can choose that because you have free will. You're allowed to do that. And you're allowed to say whatever it is that you want to say on this video and on this podcast. You are allowed to experience whatever it is that you want. And more than anything, I just want to see every single person calling back their own personal power because you are way more powerful and you can create way more change from a powerful place versus a powerless place. Does that make sense? How do you know if you're giving your power away to money? Well, just the same way, right, that we're talking about the political environment that we're in, it's allowing your happiness and your sense of peace and your sense of accomplishment and your belief in your ability to go and create what it is that you want to create in this world. If you are giving that away to something or someone else, that is indicative of the fact that you do not have access to all of your power right now. And here's the best thing, I'm going to tell you how to call it all back because it's your power and you can call it back anytime you want to. And you can decide right now that you're going to stop giving your power away. The only way that you know to stop it is to know that you're doing it. And so we're bringing awareness to that. But a lot of times people will say things, especially, so how you know that you're doing this in money or as it relates to money is saying things like, well, when I sign that client, then I'll be happy. Or when I reach this certain amount of income, then I'll be able to relax. When I have this much in my bank account, this much in my savings account, this much set aside, then I'll be able to do X, Y, and Z. Anything that you are saying that about as it relates to money is clearly indicative of the fact that you believe that this external thing is what is going to give you that experience in your life. And so quantum physics shows us that it's the opposite. It's actually the opposite that takes place. If we observe, okay, you can look up the observer effect as well. When you, and Wayne Dyer says this as well. So I'm sorry, I'm like going over, I have a lot to say. Okay, I have like one brain and like 50, one voice and like 50,000 different thoughts that are coming through. But I'm just feeling really passionate about this because I feel like it's the way that the Wayne Dyer talks about the quotes that says, when you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at change. And so thinking about the observer effect, and if you don't know what that is, please look that up. But essentially, quantum physics shows us that we are the ones who are projecting out what it is that we want to experience, not the other way around. So our vibrational frequency that we are projecting out into the universe is the thing that is being reflected back to us, not the opposite. Not, hey, here's this thing. And then we base our projection around it. It's the other way around. So we're the ones who are actually creating our own reality, even based on quantum physics. And I know that this might be a little bit woo, and it might be the first time that you've heard this, but we'll talk more about this as we go because it's really important to understand. And so if you know that you have the power to create whatever reality that you want, you wouldn't so easily give it away, not to anyone outside of you. And collectively, we do this as well. So collectively, we are all creating and projecting certain realities. And so if we want things to change, then guess what? We've got to come together collectively and make those decisions to change it. That's the only reason that I'm here recording this episode, because I don't want this information just to be within me. I want you to have access to it as well. So you can actually go out and then ripple out that change in your life and in the world as well. Because I believe that together we can actually create massive change, and we can do what it is that we want. We can create a world that we want to live in, but we're not going to do it through fear. We're not going to do it through being programmed. We're not going to do it through buying into this divisive energy. We're only going to do it by coming together and creating through love, because we are way more powerful. We are way more powerful together than we are separately. And they know that. Okay. So trust me, that is a very well-known thing. And if we can stay together and we can create from a place of love, no matter what's going on around us, that's how we can create a life that we actually all want to live in, despite the circumstances that are happening. Does that make sense? I personally know people who this week have struggled a lot. And again, I wasn't feeling well this week, but there are people who I've spoken to who are ready just to cash in all of their investments and run and flee the country. And I'm just like, whoa, hold on a second. And if that's what you want to do, by all means, go and do that. But at the same time, are you in a place where you're making decisions from a reactive place instead of a proactive place, and actually pausing and thinking, okay, let me make sure and take one day at a time, one step at a time, because we don't know what's going to come, right? We don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. I could drive. I'm going to a basketball game with my nephew tonight, taking him to a pit basketball game, which is like our highest level of basketball here in Pittsburgh. We don't have like a professional basketball team. And so I'm taking him. Anyways, it's fun. So if I go and I'm driving on my way there and get into an accident, like I might not be here tomorrow. So what the heck am I going to use my precious present moment to be fearful and afraid of what's coming? It doesn't make any sense, because I can't create change from that place. Right. And so neither can you. And so as it relates to your financial situation, it's really looking at, if you want to know if you're giving your power away, right? Looking at each and every, blaming other people for your circumstances. Or maybe you're not taking action on that business idea because you're afraid of what other people are going to say and think and feel. Or you are letting fear run your financial decision-making process. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And what is everyone going to say about me if I do? What is everyone going to say about me if I fail? What if I join this mastermind? What if I join this program and it doesn't work? What does that say about me? We're giving so much of our power away to these things outside of us. What if you just decided? What if you just decided that no matter what goes on around you, that you are going to figure it out? That you're going to figure it out, because at the end of the day, it's important to address the things, whatever problems are going to arise, when they happen. What is the point of giving all your precious power away now to something that may or may not happen in the next 5 years? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is to take your own power back and decide that no matter what happens, you are going to figure it out. Because here's something interesting that I have to share with you. None of us make it out of this alive. Some of our biggest fears, and I know for me, has been like, like I spent so much time focused on, I don't want to get hurt because I'm ultimately, gonna be unalived. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on here, but like I'm gonna not be here anymore, right? Well, it's like, okay, yeah, but did I give up living because I'm afraid to be unalived? Did I give up living all of these years? I saw this during, someone said that about COVID, and I was like, that's so true. So many people are afraid to be unalived. And I hope you guys understand what I'm saying by that. I know that that's like, I'm not, I think you're not, that's an algorithm thing that you're not really supposed to say the word. But so many people were afraid of being unalived that they forgot how to live, that they forgot to live. And I think that there's so much truth to that. There's so much truth to that. We have to be aware of what's going on. I'm not saying you to bury your head in the sand and don't know what's going on in the world and don't look at your finances and play blind because, Rebekah said I can create what I want. So I'm going to go out and buy a Lamborghini even though I have $12 in my account. Not the point, right? And that's definitely not where you want to be making change from. It's not where you want to be making decisions from. And I'm going to go out and buy a Lamborghini, even though it's not something that I can afford right now, but I'm going to go and do it because I want to create this reality. That's not the point. Okay. The point is to be aware of what's going on, be cognizant. I know all of the things that are going on. I'm very well researched in this area. I'm well researched in my finances. I'm well researched politically. I'm well researched in a lot of different areas of my life. And at the same time, just because things may or may not go my way, I'm still not going to allow those things to throw me off my track because I know that my mission and my purpose on this earth is so much bigger than anything that could be going on around me. You don't believe that the creator of the universe is more powerful than any person who's in office? If you don't believe that right now, then that would be the first thing that I would tell you to start to do. I would invite you to start working on your relationship with your creator, whatever that means for you, whether that's your higher self, whether it's love, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whether it's Jesus, it doesn't matter what it is. Because if you're listening to this, I know that you believe that you have a soul because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to the soul powered podcast. And what is that soul? Who is that soul? How do you know you have that soul? There's a connection, there's a deeper purpose, there's a deeper mission. And if you can gravitate and grab on to that mission and not let that shit go for anything or anybody, that's why I can sit here today and not worry about who's in office. I'm not worried about who's in office because my creator and the bigger plan and the purpose of the universe is so much bigger. And we are all a part, you included, are a part of a huge mission on this planet right now to help to raise the vibration of the collective, to create change, to create the new earth that we want to experience for generations to come. And we're not going to do that by giving our power away. The only way to create change is from a place of power. And so I know this episode is to talk about money, but I want you to see where is it that you're giving your power away. Because if you are giving your power away, you are powerless to the thing that you are giving your power to. And I can't even fathom looking at you and knowing how much power it is that you have and watching you give it away. I used to do it. I still do it in some areas, but I call my power back. Anytime I'm recognizing that I'm doing it, I do what I need to do to rectify the situation. And I'm going to share with you how to do that. So, like everything else, this all starts with awareness. It starts with awareness to when you are giving your power away. When are you noticing that, holy shit, I'm allowing this external thing to dictate whether or not I'm going to be happy today or this week or this month or this year or the next 4 years? I'm giving my power away to this happened or I got a bill in the mail and now I'm, freaking out because it was an unexpected bill that came out of nowhere. And now, I'm going to sulk for the rest of the day or be pissed off or, spend all of my precious time sulking or complaining or gossiping about this external thing that took place. Recognize when you are giving your power away. When something external happens and you respond in a way that is not the way that you want to, that is an opportunity for you to look at, oh, maybe I'm allowing this thing to have more power over me. Because if it didn't have any power over you, you wouldn't respond or react in a negative way. And I know that that's really hard to understand and grasp, but this is the concept of detachment. So many of us walk around, and, oh, I'm not attached to things and I'm detached and I'm detached. And it's like, yeah, but if something didn't go your way, then and you're immediately having a meltdown about it, then you're obviously detached or you're attached. I'm sorry. You're obviously attached to it. And I'm not pointing the finger here because I do this a lot. And then as soon as I recognize it, I'm like, oh shit, I was way more attached to that than I thought I was. Like this didn't go my way. And now I'm sitting here, throwing a pity party. And I just got done talking about how I wasn't attached to it. Okay, well, that's the universe showing me you still are. And so I move through it. I call my power back, right? So it's number one, recognizing where are you giving your power away? Pausing in that awareness when you notice it. Number two, calling that power back. So that power, just imagine, I look at it kind of like, like oh gosh, what's her name? Tinkerbell. Okay. I was gonna say Twinkerbell. I don't know. Twinkleberry or something I was gonna say, but that's not it. Tinkerbell. You know how Tinkerbell from like the Disney Channel has like the little wand that she walks around and like sprinkles this fairy dust. Well, that's kind of how I see my power. And we all have energy, energetic power. This is stuff that can be measured. So, obviously you can do some additional research around that. But I imagine that anything that I am feeling powerless to, that I have this energy that is all mine and it's this golden sparkling energy like Tinkerbell's, magic wand. And I imagine that I've left some of my power. And maybe I left some of my power with this whole election process. I have, and so I called it back. I left some of my power with this financial circumstance that happened in the past that I didn't really enjoy. And or it was a stupid financial decision that I made in the past that I left power there because I was feeling really disempowered in that moment. I was blaming myself, or I thought I was really stupid for making that choice, or I let somebody borrow money and they never paid it back and I left power there. So as you begin to recognize that you are giving your power away, you can command it to come back. It is your power, therefore it belongs to you. You can only give your power, okay. People can only take your power away with your permission. And you didn't know this because you weren't taught it in school. So that's why you're here learning, right? And so imagining that little energy that you may have left, I just kind of visualize, I close my eyes and I visualize that energy going into the earth, because you always want to make sure that it's kind of transmuted of any darkness. So I always watch that energy go into the core of the earth and then come back clean and cleansed and coming back into my auric field. So I literally visualize it coming back from this election process, coming back from all of the things and going into the earth, being cleansed, transmuted, and then coming back into my aura. And I say, I command you to come back. I command my power to come back. You belong to me. And maybe I left you somewhere in the past. I didn't know I was leaving you, but you are mine and you need to come back. And ever since I've been doing this, I can tell you that I literally show up differently in the world. I don't feel like I need to be so afraid when something happens. Things used to, there was a lot of fear in my life for most of my life until I realized that I don't have to be afraid. Just because fear exists doesn't mean I need to choose to be afraid. Think about it like this. I live in the city of bridges. And here in Pittsburgh, we have, I want to say it's some astronomical amount of bridges. I want to say it's like 462 bridges or something. It's crazy the amount of bridges here. And the reason is because the city is surrounded by three rivers. So it's literally every single place I go, no matter where I go on a daily basis. If I leave my house, I am crossing a bridge to get somewhere. I'm crossing multiple bridges to get somewhere. And as I was doing research around this, I realized that people, there are people who have a massive fear of bridges. It's a phobia. There are plenty of phobias in this world, right? But so the fear of the bridges exists. It exists. But do I choose to be afraid every time I go to cross a bridge? No, because I would literally not be able to get around my city at all whatsoever if I did. So the fear gets to exist. The fear is very real. Some people would be hyperventilating trying to go over that bridge. But the fear exists. I don't have to choose to be afraid. So there's so much fear around what's going on in this world. I used to be, I used to have arachnophobia. I used to have claustrophobia. I used to have all kinds of these different phobias. And although I don't love spiders and I don't really like feeling in confined spaces now, it doesn't have power over me the same way that it used to. It's not like I'm walking up to a spider and like I want to like play with it or something. They still kind of creep me out, but it's not something where I used to have this physical reaction that I would scream and cry and run away because my brothers used to throw daddy long legs at me when I was a kid. Thanks, guys. You didn't know you were helping me create arachnophobia. But the thing is, and the same thing happened from claustrophobia. There were many different reasons that I think that I had that. But one of the main ones, as I did some recapitulation and I went back and called my power back there, is that my brothers used to wrestle me. And they would like think it's hilarious to like hold me down and like tickle me or like hit me or whatever it was. And I hated the feeling of being confined. Probably not the only reason that that happened, but my point of all of this is that I worked on those phobias. I worked on those things. I learned how to reprocess my mind. I learned my NLP tools. I've been using my nervous system regulation tools, and I did what I needed to do to become empowered around those things so that I wasn't giving my power away to the fact that there's spiders in my house, right? I have a basement, like it's a Pittsburgh basement. It's a traditional Pittsburgh basement, and my husband remodeled the whole thing, and it's beautiful. But the thing is that there are spiders down there sometimes. And my old life, I probably wouldn't have spent any time down there, literally because I was so afraid of these spiders. But I took my power back from them, and I'm like, hey, if there's a spider, it's not going to hurt me. It can't hurt me physically. It's a spider. I mean, maybe, yeah, I guess some of them would be deadly or whatever. We could have an argument that yes, it could hurt me. But my point is that I'd rather spend time in the basement and hanging out with my husband in our beautifully redesigned basement than worry about if there's a spider in the corner. Okay. How often are these spiders going to actually kill us? I don't know. And if I saw one that looked really creepy, I would just, I don't know, have my husband put it outside or something. I don't know. My point is that fear is always going to exist. And we can see, especially now, how divided our country is. Some people are celebrating and thinking this is the best thing ever. Other people are thinking this is the worst thing ever. And they're literally petrified about what's to come. You can see how divided things are. There's so much fear. There's so many reasons to be afraid. And yet, your choice, your decision to be afraid still gets to be your choice. And I encourage you and invite you to take your power back from these situations. Take your power back from your finances. Take your power back from the economy. Take your power back from all of the people who are trying to take it away to make themselves more powerful. Because I promise that together with our power, we can do so much more good in this world. And you're going to be able to do so much more good in your own life by reclaiming what is already yours. It never wasn't yours. It's always been yours. No matter if you don't know what it's like to walk from an empowered place, I didn't know either. But I can tell you that on the other side, it's so much more peaceful. It's so much more fulfilling. It's so much more freeing on this side. And my life only continues to get better as a result. Whereas other people, they can't seem to get out of their own way. When you call back your power and you start showing up as that most powerful version of you, everything changes. So I hope that this resonated with you today. My intention behind this episode is not to create more division. It's to create more unity. It's to create more love. It's to show you how powerful you actually are. And I hope that we did that. So we are on episode 3 of the 4 tips to breaking through your financial plateau. I promise you that if you step into your power and you stop giving your power away, you are going to be able to break through your plateaus. You're going to be able to do anything that you desire in your life. But it really, really, really does start with calling your power back and allowing yourself to know that and believe at your heart, in your heart of hearts, that it's possible for you to achieve what it is that you want. If you need support with that, of course, shoot me a DM. Come inside of one of my programs. Be in the world where we live in the limitless because we live in the quantum. And there's so much more that we can do when we do this together and we understand our power. And that's part of my job in this world, and part of my mission is to help you to be able to reaccess that. Because the fact that you don't feel powerful, maybe, potentially, I'm not suggesting that anyone isn't, but if you don't feel powerful right now, that doesn't mean that you're not. It just means that you unwillingly gave power away, and you get to call that back because it's yours. It's yours. And you, I know if you're listening to this episode and this podcast, you are an incredible human being who deserves every ounce of your power back, and you deserve to go on and create the life that you want. And the ripple effect of that is going to change the world in greater ways than you or I can even imagine right now. So let's continue to do this work together. Call your power back, sis. It's yours. You deserve it. And I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Bye.
Soul Sister, thank you so much for tuning in to this entire episode today. If you enjoyed this episode, would you do me a favor and leave a quick review? This allows me to reach more people, and if you found value, I know others in your life will too. Also, be sure to share this episode on social media along with your biggest takeaways so I know what resonates most with you and I can keep the good stuff coming. And if you're looking to dive into a deeper connection than this podcast will allow, consider checking out my Rise to Riches experience in the show notes below. I would love to hear how these messages have helped you take one step closer to living your soul-powered life and becoming the wildly wealthy woman. Sis, let's continue to rise together. I'll see you next time. Bye.